All right, welcome to the February 16th Planning Commission pre-meeting, and I will go ahead and read the disclaimer. Due to the increased threat of serious illness and loss of life by the rapid spread of the COVID-19 virus, the chair of the West Jordan Planning Commission has determined that conducting this Planning Commission meeting at the City Hall or at another anchor location is likely to contribute to the spread of COVID-19 and would present a substantial risk to the health, safety, and welfare of the city's residents, participants, and observers. Therefore, pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-2074, the West Jordan Planning Commission hereby declares that the meetings of this public body will be held only electronically until further notice. This determination will expire in 30 days from the date the chair of the Planning Commission signs the written determination. All right, and we are off and rolling, and it looks like we're missing Commissioner Shelton and Commissioner Quinney. So there's Commissioner Quinney right there, just in the nick of time.
I'm just finishing up eating, so I didn't want to be on camera. I'll be on for the public one, though.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, let's start the review of the agenda from the 2nd. Any thoughts, comments, concerns? We're all good? Okay. Let's see, we have training after this. Go ahead. No comment? Okay. All right, the first item on our consent is the Schmidt's Greenhouse Chick Sales. And this is Mark.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just kind of run over this real quick. But so what they're doing is they're going to be selling baby chickens just over in a self-contained trailer, kind of on the south end of the parking lot at the Schmidt's Farm and Greenhouse, just off of Redwood Road. So they'll be there for about 92 days from March to May. And yeah, they'll just have a trailer there with a small little outdoor area that's fenced in where they can let the chickens kind of get a little bit of exercise and interact with some of the customers. So they'll be right next to a dumpster, power source, even a garden hose to kind of keep things clean and make sure everything's running smoothly.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions?
Can I clarify something on that too? So this doesn't happen too often here anymore, but so it's listed on the consent item. So typically the consent calendar is all passed as one. You don't have to, you can talk about it if you want to, but that's just how it's been done.
Okay. That makes perfect sense, and we will just as those who want to pass a motion, be aware to pass those as joint items. All right, the first public hearing is the Jones Ranch Sub-Area Plan 1, and it looks like Larry has this one.
Yeah, and so good evening, Planning Commissioners. So Jones Ranch, if you may remember, was the large master plan residential development west of 6400 West that goes between 8600 and I believe 90th, and between 6400 West and the Ochre Mountains on both sides of U-111. It's about 597 acres in area. It received zoning approval last November from the City Council. I know the Commission saw earlier or last summer and a couple of times before that. Anyway, this is the first sub-area plan of that large development. So it'll be broken up into several sub-areas that will be several, this one, for instance, is 85 acres in area. It contains all of the different types of housing in there, from low density to high density. There's no very low density in this development, but and it contains a number of units, just about 402 units. And that's really, when that is built out, that triggers the construction of the signature feature of Jones Ranch, which is a large clubhouse facility on the 13-acre park that will be owned and maintained by the Homeowners Association of Jones Ranch. And so this isn't a subdivision, it's just a sub-area plan. I would imagine there will be many subdivisions within this sub-area plan, probably 6 to 8 different subdivisions, all which will come to the Planning Commission for approval. Because you are the authority that approves preliminary subdivision plats. And so what you're looking at tonight is how does this reflect the master development plan that the Planning Commission saw and the City Council approved? Do the road layouts work? That type of thing. Are the amenities what were consistent with the master development plan, or the housing types what are consistent with the master development plan? And so it's just one more refined step of a master development plan, where at that point you just saw some very high level areas of use, where this really details more down almost to the lot. Now the lot layouts could change when the subdivision comes in because of more technical engineering issues and that type of thing that are related to design, but it will be substantially the same. And so as I'll bring up in the meeting, as I think it was in your staff report, there's one road right in the middle of a very dense cluster of townhomes. And the concern at that point was parking along that road would become somewhat congested. I spoke to the applicant today, and all of the homes that are in this particular sub area of Jones Ranch, both from the low to the very highest density, will all have 2-car garages and full driveways. And so that should alleviate much of the parking on the road. Are you going to eliminate all on-street parking? No, and I don't think that that's our goal anyway. But to make it so that it is not so congested, so with so each unit in essence will have 4 parking spaces from the lowest density, which I believe will probably have more than that because of the nature and the size of the lots. But even the highest density will have at least 4 parking spaces that will be available. So that should, and I've spoken to our engineers, and they're fine with that, as long as that it can be guaranteed that all of these units in phase or in this sub-area plan 1 will have full driveways, because it is a very dense part of the development. I probably expect them to be the densest here, and then the one to the west, but it'll probably start to become less dense as we move towards the Ochre Mountains. And so I think that may be a good condition of approval for the Planning Commission to put on this, that all of the units, even the townhomes, have full garages so that the parking can be accommodated on private property. The applicants already agreed to that because that's what they show on the plan. So anyway,
can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
Is that already written into the?
No, it's not. So
we just need to remember that.
Yeah, that'll have to be added. So so anyway, that's just a really, driveways. Julie just sent me, I must have said garages, but it'll be 2-car garage and the full driveways, which will accommodate 2 cars. So theoretically, if they don't use their garage for a personal storage unit, which many people do, they should have 4 spaces to park vehicles on their property. And that's really all I wanted to cover in the pre-meeting, unless there's questions from the Planning Commission about this. So.
I got one, Larry, not related specifically to this project, but is the Jordan School District still planning on building in that corner there on the southeast? Yeah, southeast.
Yes, that's a place for a middle school. One of Bill Baranowski did meet with them today. There was a issue about wanting a road connecting through there. The Jordan School District has not taken a position one way or the other. They said if there's a road there, great. If there's not a road there, great. So they're really not concerned about a road going through there. But I believe they said they're 4 to 5 years out from funding the middle school there. So yes, in fact, it will go in there, Corbin. Probably about the same time that this development really gets going. So as you may remember, there's only a very small amount of water available on the west side right now, and that will just accommodate maybe that first low density subdivision. And without an additional water reservoir, this will be held up for a little while. So
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry, Corbin, and Kent. Anything else? And Duncan, I will be disclosing that I am an employee of Ivory Employee Leasing and work for the private foundation prior to that discussion. Is that adequate?
Yep, it is.
Okay, perfect.
I've got one question. It applies, but not exactly to this. And that is one of the things I've heard a lot from the West Side residents is the desire for a rec center. I don't want to bring that up specifically beyond I am certain we will hear from the public through either this process or future subdivision approvals that the HOA amenities are specific to the HOA. Do we have any notion or thoughts or direction on a future rec center out on the west side, or do we just decide, no, that's done, it didn't pass with the last election?
I have no knowledge of that, but our good mayor's on here. He could answer that more than I could. So
the long-term plan is to bring that back again sometime. We'd like to work in conjunction with the county and get some funding with the county. The way I look at that is the residents voted no on a tax increase for a rec center, not no on having a rec center. So I would still like to bring that rec center forth. We just need to find a way to fund it before we do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I suspect we are going to get a lot of questions about that. It would be great to have a canned answer for individuals saying that or requesting more information.
Yeah, and you know, Emma, that brings up a good point, because all of the amenities in Jones Ranch are, with the exception of the trail along the wash, that can be used by anybody in the general public, because it will be a public facility. However, it will be maintained by the HOA. And so the trail system can be used by anyone in the city. However, the clubhouse and pool and other things are intended for the residents of Jones Ranch, which serves its purpose of offsetting the recreation need or recreation pressure that's put upon the city. They're alleviating some of that with the development. And so,
Can I ask you a quick question on that? This is probably more a Duncan question, but first of all, I don't actually anticipate we're going to get any questions about a rec center, because I don't recall that we've ever really had one in our group. But it seems to me that in our role largely as advisors, that this isn't really a conversation we want to be sharing information with the public. This would be something that we'd say, reach out to your city council member about, right? I don't want to be sitting up there, up there on the dais saying, nope, we're not going to do this right now because tax this, tax that, this, that, and the other. It seems to me like it's a conversation for city council, right? That we should just defer to them.
That's right. That's more of a policy discussion for the elected officials, the council and mayor. that's not really a land use issue that's before you. So
Yeah, I don't anticipate that it will be a conversation, but I wanted to make sure that we weren't going to step out of bounds on our role. I know that's actually what we're going to talk about when we finish this conversation. So.
All right, no more questions. Are we good? Today is training day. So we'll let Mr. Murray take it away.
Actually,
this time it's going to be Larry.
yeah, I'm doing
Oh,
it.
it's Larry. Sorry about that. Mr. Gardner.
Yeah, Duncan's been carrying the full weight of this for a while, and so I need to take my turn. And I had Julie email you a Word document earlier this afternoon, and I actually created this. I wish I could say I wrote it. I didn't. I mostly copied it from a book that the University of Utah used to put out. That's called Planning and Zoning Administration in Utah. Has some very good points in it. It's still relevant to what we do in the planning business as of 2021, and it's probably 30 years old now at the most. Now there has been changes in the law, but the basic practice is still the same. And so and I was looking through some training, and I noticed that the last time I talked about this was in 2018, and I think we probably have several commissioners. I know Trish and Matt and Corbin were here 3 years ago, and probably Jay, but Kent and Pamela and Ammon were not. And so it's good for them to have this document, and I'll briefly go through it and we can talk about it. But it's also a good reminder of what your role is. And it's not only good for you guys, but it's also good for staff to look at this. And, and so under number one, the first bullet point is that, a planning commission from the outset in the early 1900s of this country, where they had them in other parts of the country, has always been advisory to legislative bodies. And the reason that they set that up is that legislative bodies, or city councils, I should say, get inundated with a lot of different things: law enforcement, budget, all kinds of day-to-day operations of the city. And they recognize in the planning of the city can alleviate many of issues, or issues can be alleviated with good planning. And so planning commissions were developed for that very purpose, that a specific group of people from throughout the city who are not elected, but they're appointed, could look at the planning of the city and could advise the elected people on what they feel is the best trajectory for the city, or the best way to plan the city. And I know that this commission is, you're an active planning commission because we always have agenda items. And I think in the last 6 months, you've seen every one of the different areas that the planning commission functions in. And so you're largely advisory, and that, in the case of West Jordan, that is on, you're completely advisory on zone changes, land use map amendments, and a general plan. But, the planning of a street or a new school or a fire station, any of those things, it's good for the planning commission to look at, development the size of Jones Ranch and say, are we adequately connecting these streets? Or are they serving the purpose? Or is this going to put this street in the wrong part of this neighborhood I know about? Or this area might be better. Do we need a traffic study? Now, in West Jordan, we're fortunate to have professionals that handle all of that, but you certainly can make requests of those professionals to provide the correct studies that are required for the legislative body to make decisions. It's not saying that you're experts, but you certainly have, your expertise comes with your association to the community or your particular neighborhood that you live in. And so, it's within your power to require an analysis or something if you feel the traffic's just not going to work in this area, and actually require a professional study to make sure that it will, so it doesn't change the character of the neighborhood that is around it. And so with that being said, uh, you are appointed by the mayor. The mayor is the chief administrative officer of the city, and you are administrative just as I am. So you don't have any legislative authority, but you are the primary legislative advisor when it comes to land use matters. In fact, that's who all recommendations from staff should go through the planning commission. It should be vetted through the planning commission, because you are their primary source of advice on land use issues. And I know that over the last few years, I think that when I got here 8 years ago, the relationship could become strained at times, because there was times when the legislative body wasn't listening to the planning commission, and they were doing just the opposite. But I think that has gotten better. The city council, yes, go ahead.
I can step in for a minute.
Uh-huh.
As a council person who sometimes didn't vote the same way the planning commission did,
Mhm.
I want to let the planning commission know that even though I looked at it different than they did, I still listened to their minutes or other minutes, and you went over all the information the planning commission did. So your work saved me a lot of time, because you asked questions and did the research that I could just go through and read that and make a decision off of there. So
Yeah.
don't think because a council member votes differently than you did on the commission that they're not listening to you. We really are. We just may see it differently than you did, but your
Yeah.
information is very helpful.
Yeah. And so, I wasn't, Mayor, wasn't meaning that as an assault on the city council, because I did not. And that was actually before your time, that there was a disconnect between the two groups. And I think that it's been a much, much better relationship as of late. And these joint meetings, I believe, have really helped the two groups work more in concert with one another. And, and the simple fact of the matter is that the city council is the decision maker. And if they, as Mayor Burton said, if they choose to make a different decision, then so be it. You've given your best advice as far as planning is concerned. City councils, they have to filter things through many, many different filters. They have to look at budgetary issues. They have to look at how are the police and fire going to react. They have to look at their constituencies that they voted them into office. And so where you have the luxury, and I think the benefit of looking at things purely from a land use planning perspective, where city councils have, it's a little more complicated than our roles as planners. And so, and I'm glad that the mayor attends these meetings and is able to, voice that, they don't out and out disagree with the planning commission, but they just have to make a decision because of different things. And so thank you, Mayor, for that. And so, because you're an advisory, you are subordinate to the city council, as all employees are subordinate. Now, we don't take our direction as employees from the city council any longer, because our form of government has changed. The mayor is the person who guides and directs the administrative bodies in the city. However, don't ever think that your role is not vital importance, because it is, because the planning of the city is of great importance to the way the city functions, and how and this planning commission has a rare opportunity to look at vast tracts of open land on the west side, and what is going to be out there. Is there going to be a trail system? Are the roads going to connect? Or are we going to have all cul-de-sacs and that type of thing? And so, you look at it from a practical standpoint. How is it going to benefit the whole community, or is it just going to benefit one little neighborhood that's approved? And so don't ever think that your job is minimal, because it's not. Apart from the elected people, the planning commissions are always viewed as the without a doubt, the most important appointed body in the city. I mean, you're right at the top of the heap, because you do the most work out of any appointed body. You meet consistently, twice a month, and even more when you have other joint meetings. And so you are looked at as important. And I'll probably cover this last point, and then I'll go over the rest of them next month. But in state law, it says that one of the main roles of a planning commission is to prepare and recommend the general plan. Now, right now, the city council has appointed their own general plan committee to aid them in preparation of a general plan. A general plan belongs to a city council. It does. But nothing that committee is doing at present will go anywhere unless it goes through the planning commission. That's a plain and simple law that's in the state of Utah. You cannot be ignored or gone around as far as a general plan goes, because that is one of your primary duties as a planning commission, is to prepare a comprehensive general plan. Now, I can say in West Jordan that our general plan is functioning more like a comprehensive general plan, because it covers all areas of the general plan are incorporated into it. And as I think you could see over the last year, we have adopted many standards and engineering standards and studies, and they've gone through the planning commission adopting them as land use documents. And so, the current water, sewer master plans, storm sewer master plans, transportation master plans, all are derived from the land use map of the general plan, which the planning commission both recommends and to the city council for approval. And so you can see everything is tied to the land use map of the general plan in West Jordan. And this is not true in all communities, but in West Jordan, we keep all the zoning consistent with the land use map. If somebody wants to change the zoning on a property and it's not consistent with the land use map, they have to also apply for an amendment to the land use map. And, and if the planning commission does not feel that that is a good amendment, then they can, of course, recommend denial to the city council. And so the zone change is always contingent upon the general plan in West Jordan. Now, the general plan itself does not carry any authority. But what implements the general plan is the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations and the standards that were adopted. And so, as you can see, I believe that planning commissions have a vital role in the city. They're vital to my profession and my job, because everything we do either has come from a recommendation from a planning commission or is being recommended by a planning commission. And I appreciate this commission's attention to detail. You're not timid about asking questions and asking developers questions and wanting to get the right answer. And so that's completely within your role. And I have seen some very good behavior out of this planning commission when it comes to that, because you are concerned about your city. You want to make sure that things are working correctly. And, and there's a few of you who were on who are now on this commission because of a land use decision that you may not have agreed with that came to your neighborhood. And I see you smiling, Jay, but you know, that's a simple fact of the matter, you know, and I think that I know that you were a government employee, but it got you involved. Anyway, at 6 o'clock, I'll shut up. We'll go over the rest of this next month. So thank you.
Thank you, Larry, very much. And I, like Jay, am on this planning commission because of Midvale City. So however it happens, we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started with the February 16th Planning Commission meeting. I will begin by reading our disclaimer. Due to the increased threat of serious illness and loss of life by the rapid spread of the COVID-19 virus, the chair of the West Jordan Planning Commission has determined that conducting this Planning Commission meeting at the City Hall or at another anchor location is likely to contribute to the spread of COVID-19 and would present a substantial risk to the health, safety, and welfare of the city's residents, participants, and observers. Therefore, pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-2074, the West Jordan Planning Commission hereby declares that the meetings of this public body will be held only electronically until further notice. This determination will expire in 30 days from the date the chair of the Planning Commission signs the written determination. All right, thank you very much for all being here. We have all planning commissioners present. First item, we have two items on the consent calendar to approve the minutes from February 2nd and then Schmidt's Greenhouse chick sales. Comment, discussion?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a first and a second approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And it carries 7-0. Our first public hearing this evening is Jones Ranch Sub-Area Plan 1, 8600 South, 6400 West. Sub-Area Plan on 404 lots on 85 acres, PC zone. This is Ivory Development with Brian Prince, and we will start with our applicant, Brian Prince. Please go ahead.
Evening, Planning Commission. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Well, appreciate the time tonight. The staff report was quite extensive, so I will give a brief overview and then open up for any questions you have. Larry, I am not seeing, or Duncan, I'm not seeing how I can share a file here.
So Julie, can you allow him to share? Can you promote him to panelist, or how do you do that?
Yes, I just did.
Okay, let's see if this works. 1 second. Can everybody see that?
We can.
Okay, great. This first slide shows the blue and red area. It shows the boundary of the overall Jones Ranch master plan. It, as a reminder, consists of 592 acres and is there in between approximately 8600 South and 90 South, and then runs from 6400 West up to the far edge of the city. The red area outlines the boundary of this proposed sub-area plan 1 and consists of approximately 86 acres. So this is intended to give you some context to the phase of the project we're going to discuss relative to the overall master plan. I was actually looking at my notes, and we presented this master plan to this body, the Planning Commission, exactly a year ago. It was on February 4th. So it's been a year, and it's great to finally come back and move this project along with you. This next slide just is a reference to the overall Jones Ranch master plan. And I'll kind of click, to give a little context to the so this, just to get a little context to what we're looking at tonight, we're looking at villages.
Brian may interrupt. Would you enlarge your screen? Is there any
Yeah.
way? Thank you.
Sorry about that. So what we're looking at tonight, this as just as a reminder to the commission, we're looking at, so this is the overall land use plan that was part of the master development plan. We're looking at Village 1 and Village 4 for this subarea plan, and that's adjacent to 6400 West and 90th South. And so this is showing the area within the master plan that's part of this first subarea plan. There are 5 land use, there are 5 land use designations in the Jones Ranch master plan. And there's a low density, a medium density, high density, and a commercial and open space. And so in this first subarea plan, we're proposing a mix of low, medium, and high residential product along with some passive open space. This corridor is that Barney's Creek open space corridor, and then a programmed, groomed 13-acre park, which is defined in the master development plan as the Club Ivory amenity for the overall project. Jumping into the details, this is the vision for the subdivision design and road layout for the first subarea plan. Again, has a mix of the low density, this here on 6400 in this northeast corner. There are about 32 large single family lots that range from about they're 1 to 3 units an acre. So on average, about a 1/3 acre lot. The yellow are anywhere from 8 to 9,000 square foot lots. The purple and blue are smaller single family lots. And then this lighter pink here are townhomes. So like staff report mentioned, total of 408 residential units in this first subarea plan on 85 acres. The only thing I'll point out is the 13-acre Club Ivory is part of this first subarea plan because the master development plan requires that this Club Ivory amenity is a clubhouse and a pool amenity. Those are required to be built and functioning by the time we get to the 200th certificate of occupancy. The pool amenity needs to be built, and then by the 400th certificate of occupancy, the clubhouse needs to be built. So we thought it was necessary to include it in this first subarea plan. And with that, I think I'll just open it for questions.
Thank you. Just hang on just a second. We're going to send this. I'll thank Mr. Prince for his comments and then open it up for commissioners to have comments. Pamela, please go ahead.
On 90th, what's the traffic study what has the traffic study, if it's been done, said about that 90th? Because I use 6400 West onto 90th often, and some mornings it takes forever to get onto 90th, and all this development is just going to create even more issues for 90th. Is there anything that's been done or proposed?
So when you say 90th, the extension or the existing intersection?
Both the existing intersection and that just having all of that come onto 90th is going to create quite the traffic in the morning, as there already is quite the traffic in the morning. So I'm curious if anything has been proposed on traffic and stoplights, et cetera.
To answer your first question, the master development plan and the city's ordinance requires that we complete a traffic impact study specifically for these phases of development with the preliminary plat. And that's why it hasn't been completed yet, because the ordinance requires it to be done at this next stage, which is the preliminary plat process.
Perfect. Okay.
But what I can show you is jumping to, sorry, I'm just jumping to a road design here. Sorry, it's a little slow tonight. 90th South will be 67 feet wide and will be a 3/4 road that will be built in this first area plan. So we've been communicating with the Jordan School District, and because they own this frontage along 90th, this extension will be built to in the initial phases to access this southern corner or the southern area of the sub-area plan. And we envision this construction commencing later this year. Our goal is to provide this vehicular connection from 6400 and out to 90th as soon as possible. And so with the goal to have 2 points of access as quick as possible. So we're not pushing all the traffic out to 90th or all the traffic out onto 90th or from 6400 or 90th.
Commissioner Bloom, does that answer your question?
For the most part, yeah. That's just getting a busy area already. So I just have some concerns as this continues to grow.
Can I ask a couple follow-ups on that then?
Please do.
It looks like, are we going to stick to this one access point on each of these two main roads, or do you anticipate a second on 90th there where there might be some more room a little bit to the west? And second, is there going to be left and right turns out of these roads? I don't know the rules on that. I know where 90th is more of a UDOT property. I guess this far west we might have some control, but talk to me a little bit about that.
Commissioner Quinney, can you see my cursor?
Yeah, I can.
So this intersection here, as well as the main minor collector on 6700 West, are intended to be full functioning intersections. So it will be both a right in, right out, left in, left out. So it's a full functioning intersection.
I missed the big one. Thank you. Sorry, I completely missed that one.
So, but to point out, south of this yellow line is vacant property. So the timing of when this will be a full intersection, it is intended to have, your city's master transportation plan does have this road continuing south. We will build up to here in the first initial phases. And then to address I think your broader question, there will be, so that those two connection points, looking at the broader Jones Ranch, there's a connection here, and then here's that 6700 that runs into the existing subdivision of the north. There will likely be an additional connection farther west in these areas before you get to U111 or Bacchus Highway.
And Commission, bear in mind, we have 3 engineers in the meeting tonight. And so I think after Brian's done, those are good questions to ask Nate, Todd, and Bill Baranowski, because I know there is an unfinished portion of 90th farther to the east. Right now it kind of goes into New Bingham Highway. And so I think those are all appropriate questions to ask the engineering staff about road use and what the plans are in the future. So
thank you, Larry. Are there any more questions for the applicant?
I have one regarding the trail system.
Please go ahead, Commissioner Allen.
Mr. Prince, would you go to page 10 of that PDF?
Yes.
I'm gonna split this question into two. The first is there's a yellow line that connects. It's a little bit further on the south side, kind of in the middle of the development, that connects into the school property. Have you had any conversations with the school about that?
We had. It's been a while. It was last year. We talked to them about their general site plan and where they envisioned vehicular ingress and egress, and that is on 90th and 6400 at full build out. They did not anticipate any public right-of-way connections to the west or the north, but they were open to a pedestrian connection, essentially an opening in their gate to allow for kids to to walk, obviously, to connect to the elementary site and junior high site. And so that is something that we verbally, high level with the district, agreed to in the event that this was approved and we moved into a civil plan, preliminary plat design. We'd probably connect again with the district to get a better sense of exactly where they're open to having that connection. It could end up over here. This is a general location that they were okay with. So at a high level, yes, Commissioner Allen, they have agreed to it, but we would circle back with them on a more specific design when we got to that stage.
And let me just add to Commissioner Allen, I believe Bill Baranowski met with the school district today, so he may have more updated information on that when we have a chance to reach out to him. So I'll let you ask your second question.
Perfect, thank you. For the wash, the open space, the passive open space that's going to be dedicated to the city, maintained by the HOA. For that portion north of the Club Ivory amenity, is that part of Village 3? And that's why it's not shown in here?
This area right here?
Yes.
So yes, that is part of a future village. But so this yellow line is the 12 wide asphalt trail that runs the whole length of the Barney's Creek corridor. So I'll jump back to this. So it's that 12-foot trail that runs all the way the length. But the area of the open space corridor, Commissioner Allen, that you're referencing is in Village 3. You're exactly right. We show the trail there because in our planning, we do anticipate to have that trail run through the Club Ivory amenity site and not in the wash, to provide that connection from the amenity site to the trail network. Does that answer your question?
I did. Thank you very much. Appreciate the answer.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen and Mr. Prince. Any more questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none, we'll move to Larry and let Larry give us some additional information.
All right, well, I can't seem to see my camera, so you're going to have to just listen to me talk without the camera. So anyway, Brian did a good job of covering. He covered where the location is, and it's right behind the new schools that will be going in this area in general. And he talked about this from the master plan. As you can see on the land use map, it was put in as fluctuating density because when we were going through the master planning process, we didn't want to see, and as planners, you generally go, well, all the low density belongs here, all the medium density belongs here, and all the high density belongs here. What we have found that works best is that when there's several opportunities within the same area for people to start out purchasing a home, which this sub area will have a lot of that. What will be considered starter homes, but they'll also have the opportunity to move up in the same neighborhood as into medium density or even a low density product if they choose to stay. And we've seen that in many cases in other areas. Bella Estates and Winter Circle were two examples where the neighbors to the east had outgrown their smaller home and they wanted to buy that larger home. And so we felt that this was a better way to do it, to plan many different density types in basically the same area. And of course, the zoning that was changed to is all planned community. And this is a planned community. Brian went over where it's at. He talked about the villages, the density locations. Now, I brought up in the pre-meeting that we have a parking concern basically along this road right here. And so I voiced those to Brian earlier in the day. And the one thing that we are missing as staff is these little white areas on these townhome products are they are full driveways. And so every home in Jones Ranch or in Jones Ranch Subarea Plan 1 will have a full driveway. And what that means is every driveway will be 22 feet long. And so every home will have the required 2-car garage. I would imagine some up in the lower and medium will have more than that, probably 3-car garages, plus two spots on the driveway to park. And so in essence, each home will have 4 parking spaces, in theory. Now, people use their garages for many different things. We know that it's not everyone parks in their garage. Everyone last night wished they had a garage to park in, but a lot of people don't. Well, I'm not saying a lot. There are people that don't. And because the big concern was that in this very dense area, people spilling out into the lower densities. But the concern was alleviated when Brian pointed that out, that every home will have a full driveway with there. And so I think that, as I mentioned, if that could be guaranteed, that at least for this phase of sub-area plan, that engineering's parking concern would largely be addressed at that point. And as you can see, there's a large portion of this phase will contain high density, these small lot single family, but every small lot single family we've done in this city has sold very quickly, because it is a product that is still somewhat affordable, where the larger lot stuff is becoming less and less affordable. And so I believe that there's a market for it in the city, but as Brian pointed out, it's going to contain this very important Club Ivory, the signature feature of Jones Ranch. And so that's how that gets built even quicker, is to have a lot of units in the first part of this development. You know, and the house plans, I think Ivory's done a nice job with their homes in this plan. These are product examples. Now they're not a stagnant company. They don't build the same thing that they were building in 1975 anymore. And so I expect that to change as the market demands change, but they will still have the same characteristics and the same features, architectural features, you know, windows, the same type of thing that will make it a truly a product that is a little higher scale than what may be located around it. You know, and this is a good example of the small lot single family. This is probably the home that a lot of starter homes will consist of, is the small lot single family, or maybe a townhome. But the townhomes seem to be also being occupied more and more by empty nesters and people that they want. And these are quite large townhomes, by the way, that want a larger unit, but not the burden of a large yard to take care of any longer. And the one thing that Ivory has agreed to do is that oftentimes in a subdivision, when you pull in, you see the sides of houses, which are pretty bland, and then you go around the front and all the architecture's on the front of the home. But Ivory's, you know, they want to make this neighborhood look nice. And so all of the corner lots or any of a side yard facing a street will have what they call a facade zone. So it will have enhanced features. What I like to call it is the second front facade. I don't think it'll be quite that, because you want to try to keep the front facade, but it won't be just the plain walls that you see a lot of times in subdivisions. Brian went over the roads. All the public streets will be built to city engineering standards that have been adopted. There will be private lanes that have been vetted and gone through our engineering department, and so those will those have been agreed to by our engineering department, but they all will be private and they will be privately maintained. The public streets will be, of course, become part of the public street system of West Jordan. Open spaces and amenities. I like, the thing I like about Jones Ranch is it's in 20 years, I think that this wash trail system is going to become a crowning achievement for the city of West Jordan. I really believe that because, it'll come along in pieces, but, you'll be able to go from the Oakers basically almost to the Jordan Over Parkway if we could find some connections on the east side. But on the west side, it's just going to be second to none on the west side of the city. And the width of the wash changes, from 100 and something feet, and it necks down in some areas to 80 feet. But it will have a bike trail or a running trail. It will have the 12-foot asphalt trail. All of those have been designed and approved in the master development plan. Another great thing about Jones Ranch is all the trails will go under the roads. So there will not be this constant conflict between the auto traffic and the pedestrian traffic. And so biker could be coming down this trail and he or she won't have to stop at the road. They'll be able to just continue on their way, and then from the Oakers to where this ends is close to 2.5 miles. And so that would be a healthy ride. For me, it would kill me, but other people, it would be just their warm up. And so it really will be, I think, a great feature for the city. And all of the trail systems have already been designed and have been looked at by city staff, the appropriate city staff. On one side of the main drag coming into Jones Ranch, which would be the one going by the this Ivory amenity, there will be the road with a 6-foot park strip and an 8-foot trail. And so I think that really will set apart this development from other developments in the city. Of course, Brian talked about the signature feature, which will be the clubhouse and pool. In the PC zone, there's additional amenities that are required according to the number of units built and the density of the development. And so there's a list of amenities to choose from in the ordinance that really does leave some latitude for the developer to put in the things that they feel are the best for the community that they're building. And so that's all I've got. And with that condition of approval in the staff report, and if the planning commission feels so inclined, the condition that that these homes will have, or all of the homes in this first area will have full-length driveways. Staff recommends that the planning commission approve this sub-area plan. So do you have any questions of me at this point? So,
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Are there any questions for staff?
Yes, I have a question.
Please proceed, Commissioner Shelton.
Thank you. Larry, on the plan, it looks like there's designated driveway space for the very high density units that you pointed out. I'm wondering about the higher density units that aren't as let's see, they're to the north and to the south of the very high density units. There doesn't appear to be designated driveway space. Yes, there your cursor was on it. Yeah.
Yeah, all they're showing here is the lot where this product is a multifamily product, and you show more of the fourplex or the sixplex, so to speak, because that is the lot. Each individual's a lot, individual home. And so they do those show the driveways out here, where here they haven't, there's no home placement on the lot, but the guarantee is that there will be full driveways with the homes when they get put on there. So.
Okay, I was just wondering because I didn't see it designated.
Yeah, this is a lotting plan with this generally with the subdivision plat. We do require house plans at times. I don't know if we will with Jones Ranch because it has been vetted so thoroughly before the entitlements were granted and at this phase. So, and I think the agreement is that there will be full driveways. And, in single families, quite frankly, it's a requirement of the ordinance. And so.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious with the single family. That wasn't a question for me, but the medium-sized ones, I just was wondering because I didn't see it laid out like I did on the high density.
Yeah.
You're saying that every unit in this development will have a full-length driveway. Is that correct?
Correct. You're correct. Yes. Full length and full width. And full width meaning 16 feet wide. So.
Thank you both. And it looks like Commissioner Thomas has a question.
Yeah, we kind of touched basis a little bit on this in the pre-meeting, but about water. Now, the section or area 1 and 2 or 4, you said had enough water already there, but there was not enough there. Is there anything in the future that's on the pipeline to bring some more water into this area?
There's actually only probably, and I don't know, we have engineering that could answer this better than me, probably only enough water for this first low density portion of this. The city certainly has a zone 5 tank in the master plan. However, we have not started even designing or building that because we simply don't have the money at this point. Ivory was made aware of this, a year and a half ago, and I don't know if they're working with other developers to construct a tank, but it's in their best interest if they want to proceed sooner than later. And so, but there is no water to build out this first sub area. No, there's not. So,
and there's no funding so far yet either.
Our funding for water, generally they have to be bonded for, but the bonds have to be paid for with impact fees. And so we're still paying impact other bonds off with this. And so, all I can tell you is from a simple perspective, from a planner, that there's no water at present other than beyond a few units in this first part. Of course, the engineering staff may or may not be able to add more to that. It gets a little more complicated because it becomes funding issues, at a much higher level than what I'm at. However, Ivory has not a surprise to them. They've been made aware of this for a long time. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Mr. Prince, did you have a comment that you wanted to make?
Oh, just wanted to give a little input on Commissioner Thomas's question about the water. Larry is correct. We're very aware of the culinary water capacity issue and are working with the city staff and the city consultant, Hanson and Luce, on the design for what is known as the Zone 5 area tank. In your capital facilities plan, it is that the Zone 5 area tank is planned to be fully funded, I think, by 2028. It was originally 2025 and has been pushed out. So Ivory is working with staff on plans to move forward with the construction of the tank. That the development agreement has language in it that provides a full reimbursement to Ivory by 2025. And so the simple answer is, Ivory will likely build the Zone 5 tank in the next 18 to 24 months to proceed with future phases of development, and will be reimbursed at a later date.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, we'll open this for public comment, but prior to that, I would just like to disclose that I am an employee of Ivory Employee Leasing, and I work with the private foundation for the Ivory family. All right, let's open this up for public comment. Let's see, who do we have? If you'll please raise your hand if you have a comment. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment and bring it back to the commissioners for further discussion.
Chair, can we
Please.
ask some of the city engineers to kind of expound upon both the traffic issue and also the water issue, if they've got some better knowledge?
Absolutely, great question.
Sure, Todd Johnson here with engineering. I'd be happy to tell you just a little bit more. Regarding the water situation, Jones Ranch completed a water master plan update, which stated that we have capacity for 100 additional units on our Zone 5, Zone 6 area out west. That 100 unit capacity is used by each development as they are approved in order. So it's just kind of a first come, first served capacity. We have had some developments approved already since that master plan was approved. So that 100 units is not fully available. There is some capacity within that 100. We will be able to use that for small subdivisions within this area as they come along. So for example, we might have 70 lots or so available, at which point we would be taking our foot off the gas and waiting until that reservoir is completed to approve any future subdivisions. Regarding traffic, I guess I need a little bit more clarification on what you'd like to know. The questions you had about intersection spacing, I can answer that. Along 90th South, there are 2 accesses, both of which are spaced at approximately 1/4 mile, which is meeting the engineering standards in the area for full access. That appears to be appropriate.
Thank you, Todd. Commissioner Bloom, did you want to have any further questions for engineering?
Well, I was just curious if there was future plans on stoplights, et cetera, because that area of 90th South does get busy around the, morning and evening commutes. I've sat on that road for quite a bit at certain times, especially now in the snow, of course. But knowing this is going in as well as other future developments, I just see that turning into the mess we currently have on 7800 South about the same west.
Sure. There's not a lot that I can state right now. I may ask if Bill Baranowski is able to make any comments on intersections. He may be able to expound on that a little bit more.
Hello, commissioners. This is Bill Baranowski. I have a disclaimer with Ivory too. I have my favorite cousin, David Zollinger, is an Ivory employee, kind of like Brian Prince, but he's for Utah County, so I don't see him a lot in our city. But I do have a soft spot for Ivory, thanks to my cousin. And Larry, I think you can ride these trails. They have these electric bikes now with really fat tires, so there's hope for you riding these bike trails. I think Ivory is helping quite a bit with our trails plan, and especially on 67th West. I'm excited about that. The question about traffic signal at 90th South intersection with 64th West. Yes, that's planned for the future. We have come to the commission, I think it's about a year ago, for the access plan on 90th South and also on New Bingham Highway. And if you'd like in the future, we can go over that access plan that we did show a traffic signal, and we show 90th South connecting all the way to the Mountain View corridor to the east in probably the next 5 years. Whether that traffic signal gets built or not will be be part of the subdivision plan, I think the traffic study would look at that, whether it's warranted or not, based on the 400, 500 units that are planned at this intersection. I think that probably is going to happen within the next 5 years. Does that answer all your questions? I also, any crossing on 6400 West for the trail will have rapid rectangular flashing beacons. So that's kind of a standard crossing improvement that we've been putting in. And we've already built the island out there for that crossing. If you drive that 64th West, you'll see a little island out there, and the crosswalk's already in place. So we're excited to get the trail connection to the west to make that trail even longer in the city.
So Bill, is there anything to the east on 90th that could be done to improve traffic flow east-west, or is there any different or any future construction that needs to take place to help that movement of traffic?
Right, Larry, we came to Planning Commission, showed you a couple of options how to connect 90th South to the Mountain View corridor. And we're applying for funding from Wasatch Front Regional Council to pay for that connection to the Mountain View corridor. So 90th South is envisioned to be, about 25 to 30,000 vehicles per day in the future. So it's a very important corridor. We even envision, right now it's going to be a city street. In the future, that will probably become a UDOT street. And we envision a 40-mile-per-hour arterial street. So that would be a great place for a traffic signal at 6400 West.
Thank you, Bill, very much. Any more questions? Bill, I want to ask a question that was touched on earlier regarding access to the school. I know you met with them today, or I believe you met with them today. Was there any discussion on access to the school property from within this sub area?
Yeah, I talked to 2 people at the school, the school facilities over the past week. We've had a couple of conversations. The previous developer showed a roadway along their frontage of this west frontage of the school, so fronting the future middle school. And the school district says that would be great if they had that roadway in place, that they would work with them. And or without that, the school is able to build their own roadway internal to their site. But I think an access to this development for pedestrians would be great. What I get to deal with schools is a lot of the issues that come after the developments come in, and the pickups and drop-offs for the students. So I do envision a lot of, I have some junior high kids, and we like to drop them off maybe once a month to the school, if they're late for school, which happens at least once a month. And so there'd probably be a lot of cars using the neighborhood streets to drop off to the back side of the school. So there are some negatives to having that walkway through the back side of the school. So I can see future complaints. Is there a parking place for a drop off for those kids? Maybe, I think we can work something out in the future, but it's kind of wait and see till the school and the houses are built, whether or not that's a big issue. But the school's pretty much in favor of the development, because the people who live there are the school customers. So once the development goes in, maybe the school will go forward. They said that's probably going to be in 4 to 5 years at the soonest. So they're just tickled to have this development coming in, to justify their future school.
Thank you very much, Bill. Any further questions or deliberation?
I have one more question.
Please go ahead, Commissioner Shelton.
Larry, we talked about these full-length driveways. In the condition that we set forth in the motion, should we define the length and width of that driveway?
No, because that's already defined in code. Just put that there'll be full driveways. Okay.
Thank you.
Larry, could I ask you to stop sharing your screen if we're done with questions so I can see? Thank you very much. All right. Any further questions for staff? Possible motion?
I'll make a motion.
Please go ahead, Commissioner Shelton.
Based on the information and findings set forth in the staff report and upon the evidence and explanations received today, I move that the Planning Commission approve the Jones Ranch Sub-Area Plan 1:8600 South, 6400 West, 404 lots on 85 acres in the PC zone with the following conditions. All current red lines from city staff are corrected. 2, applicant is to work with city staff to ensure that increased parking is available within the high density areas. 3, applicant is to coordinate with the Jordan School District and city staff to come to a mutually agreeable solution regarding the anticipated needs for school property access from the Jones Ranch Sub-Area 1. 4, every unit will have a full driveway.
Thank you. Is there a second? Let me just clarify something. Mr. Prince mentioned 408 lots. We have this listed at 404. Larry, is it 408 or 404?
Whatever I said in my thing, but Brian, it was incorrect, or I don't think the lot count really hinges on anything, because like I said, all of the developments will have to go through a preliminary subdivision, and Jones Ranch is capped at a certain density over the whole project, which is nearly 3,000 units. And so it's at this point, 404 or 408 doesn't really change anything. So just whatever it says on the motion is fine.
Thank you.
You have a motion, so you need a second at some point.
Yes, we do. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bloom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the vote carries 7-0. Thank you very much, Ivory, for doing business in West Jordan.
Thank you for the time tonight.
And before we adjourn tonight, I just would like to remind everyone we have a joint meeting with the City Council on the 30th. I am assuming it will start at 6, so mark your calendars.
Assuming you're meeting 30th of next month?
March
30th. Okay.
Commissioner Hatch, I have a question.
Please.
Did we cover the 1B on the consent items? I didn't recall covering that.
Yes, that was in a joint motion at the very beginning of the meeting.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
No worries. Any other questions? Okay, I think we're good. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
No seconds? Come on.
I second.
Go 5 deep on that one.
No kidding. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.